What's going on, friends? Logan Myers here for Cinephellas.com. It's freezing today in the Chicagoland area. It's currently like -30 out. And I thought, what better way to enjoy a day in than watch Netflix, watch a documentary, and talk about it for you guys. So I recently just finished Conversations with a Killer, the Ted Bundy Tapes. And it was a pretty good series. Basically, the setup of this documentary, it's directed by Joe Berlinger. And it's 4 parts in this series. They're an hour apiece, so it's 4 hours long. They don't follow the standard Netflix format. Usually it's like 10 episodes. But this time around it's only 4, and it's based on Ted Bundy, his conversations, recordings, these tapes while he was on death row, talking about his past, his killings. There's 36 women that he killed. Ted Bundy is basically confessing and talking about it on these tapes. And that is pretty much the setup of the documentary. You see the early days of Ted Bundy when he's a kid living in Washington, teenage years till he was a young man, when the killing all started, and how he went across to all these different states, how he escaped, traveled, and killed women in Washington, Colorado, Utah, and ending in Florida. Very charming. He was a good-looking guy, which is odd for serial killers. He looked just like a normal person. He was very smart. He was going to law school to be a lawyer, so he was very convincing. It was a hard target to catch. So throughout the documentary, you see different years of Ted Bundy kind of going back and forth with interviews of people that knew him, cops that were on his track. So from the directing standpoint, this is a very intriguing documentary. The way that it was shot, edited, and how they threw in the actual footage of Ted Bundy, his court cases, his audio, is very interesting. Something I haven't seen before. I'm a huge fan of true crime and crime documentaries and learning about serial killers because I think they're really fascinating, but Ted Bundy being one of the few that I never really researched all that much. I knew that he killed a lot of women, but never really looked into it. So it was very informative for a person like myself that didn't know too much about Ted Bundy. They kind of showcase him in this documentary as, he was charming and manipulative and a sociopath, and he was capable of doing a lot and tricking a lot of people and not really leaving any evidence around. Him coming across and killing these innocent women, like in the middle of the night, no evidence. They had no proof that it was actually him. It took them a while, the cops, to figure out who it was. And back then we didn't have the cutting technology, the 70s, the 80s, as we do now. So it was harder to track people like GPS, or smartphones or anything like that. It was really hard for cops to do their job back then. And you can see throughout this documentary, it took a while to find Ted Bundy. He would end up taking off to another state, and he would look completely different. The way he combed his hair, he had a mustache, he just looked different. So he's really good at disguising, and when people and the cops were after him, they couldn't track him down because he looked a lot different. So he's a very smart man. And he was thrown in jail a few times, and he ended up escaping, like breaking through, like cutting a hole in the wall in the ceiling and just escaping, and they couldn't find him. And like back then, on the news, everybody was afraid of this guy, especially women, because he targeted women, younger women. So everybody was going, home early. They weren't staying out at night, locking the doors. Everybody, throughout the U.S. were really terrified of this Ted Bundy guy because they didn't know where he was and who his next victim was. So I really loved how they threw in all the actual events of Ted Bundy, footage of him being in court and him being a complete arrogant asshole to the judge, and showing footage throughout his life where he grew up and how he became the person he became. But one problem I did have with this documentary, it didn't really answer why. Just him walking through these different events of his life, it never really answered that. Was he just crazy? That's what I'm guessing. That's what we're getting from this. He was just crazy and killed people. That's what he did. Overall, I had a great time with Conversations with a Killer, the Ted Bundy Tapes. A person not knowing much about this, I actually learned a lot about the serial killer and everything and the terrible things that he did to people that were in his path over the course of so many years. And it was very informative. The way they shot it, the directing was really great. And I like how they threw in the footage and the audio of him talking about these killings while he was on death row, and then eventually being executed. So that being said, it was a really well done documentary. The only few downfalls about it was a bit slow at times. It's only 4 hours, but I was finding myself getting bored about halfway through the episodes. But it picks up towards the end. I'm going to give Conversations with a Killer, the Ted Bundy Tapes, a 4 out of 5 Ted Bundy hair pieces. So what did you guys think about this Ted Bundy documentary on Netflix? What did you like about it? What didn't you like about it? Let us know in the comments below, and don't forget to hit subscribe. This is Logan Myers signing out from Cinephellas Studios. Until the next video review. Cheers!